So, we all have that one artist or piece of media that we are convinced only we know exists. Let me tell you, I have a lot of those things, okay? From video games, to movies, to even YouTubers. It's a vast world out there, and not everyone can get their chance in the spotlight for even a split second. But sometimes you come across someone so unfathomably good, someone so underrated that it makes you weep. I, my friends, found that person, and his name is Tetsuya Takahashi. No, not that Tetsuya Takahashi. This one. Yeah, I know, you don't know him at all. 591 monthly listeners as of writing the script. It was even lower, but I posted it on Reddit and it went up by like 40. Let me tell you, I don't listen to much Japanese music. In fact, I'm very conservative in what I put on my playlist. 90% of it consists of rap, or the Beatles for some reason. Seriously, if you scroll through my playlist, it's just rap with huge chunks of Beatles songs in the middle. I don't really listen to Japanese music in my free time unless you count video game music, but let's not get into semantics here. I mean, there are anime openings and such, but that's about it. So imagine my shock when I stumble across a random Japanese artist with music so good it made me want to physically cry. I don't cry, okay? I never cry. So that's saying a lot for me. I became obsessed with this dude and his music, and I went on a whole hunt to find out more about this guy. So I thought it might be cool to make a video about him just to spread the word. I doubt anyone will watch this video, but hey, I like his music and it'd be cool if even one person checked out his stuff. This is Tetsuya Takahashi. Oh, I'm dividing this video into chapters, by the way, because why the hell not? Before we get into the man himself, I want to get into his albums. Not all of them, because only like a few of his things are on Spotify. And apparently he has a ton of other stuff, but I can't seem to find it anywhere apart from these Japanese music sites, which I can't navigate. So I'm stuck in this weird purgatory where I can only listen to a select portfolio of his music. That portfolio I'm stuck with though is legendary. In fact, why not rank them, shall we? Albums first, then on to EPs. Number 3, Popular Music Album, 1996. This is his first full-fledged album, released in 1996, called Popular Music Album. It has a really pop sort of sound. It's easily one of his calmest albums. Looking at the name, it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek play on generic pop albums, difference being that this actually sounds really freaking good. I wouldn't really start with this album though, as it doesn't really reflect his later work that well. And don't get me wrong, it's still great, but I only remember about 1 or 2 songs from the album. They're great to listen to passively, but I never put one on and start jamming to it. Oh god, you guys haven't even listened to them yet. You know what? Here are a few standout songs from his album for you guys. Call Me is easily my favorite. It has that upbeat chill vibe that makes me nostalgic for summer shenanigans and young relationships. My Favorite Girl is another big one for me. I've heard it so many times though that I'm starting to get really sick of it. Again, it sort of invokes the same feelings that the last one did. Here's some of it for you. If I'm being honest though, most of the songs on this album invoke that feeling as well, which makes it kind of blend together in my opinion. Number 2, Commuter Album, 1998. At least that's what Google Translate tells me anyway. I don't know the actual name because I can't speak Japanese. This album is the perfect mix of his best album, which I'll get to later, and his first album. This is the last album he made before he started his solo career, and damn, it's such a good way to go out. Some songs start super energetic and calm down in the later half, and others do the complete opposite. The energy in this album shifts so rapidly and it's so invigorating. For example, the song Coelacanth starts like this. And ends up like this. That kind of sounds like how most songs are structured, but this album does it differently in like a really odd way that I can't really describe. You just need to hear it for yourself. It's captivating, honestly. The guitar and drums here also go insanely hard. Also, the bass is so goddamn prominent. I can feel it shaking my insides like jello. Especially in the song The World Goes Round, which reminds me of Summer in a different way from Popular Music Album. You see here, it sort of reminds me of those lonely, boring summer days. You don't really have anyone to hang out with or talk to. You just genuinely feel really lonely. I'd say half of the songs are really energetic and the other half are sort of melancholy. Feels like a perfect finale for an amazing trilogy of albums. Number 1. Things That Live at Night, 1998. Oh god, this album is literal perfection. Why is it that the second thing of anything is always the best one? The Empire Strikes Back, Earthbound, and World War II. This is easily his most popular album, containing his most popular song. Before I go any further though, some of the songs on this album are actually taken from his earlier EPs, but don't worry about that, okay? There are so many iconic standout songs here. China Cafe. Bright Red Car.
俺の車を追い越してゆく見たことのない真っ赤な車
And best of all, a new world. Words cannot describe how much I adore this song. Usually, I dislike it when songs seem to prolong themselves, but this one is the exception. It is 8 minutes and 2 seconds of pure unadulterated bliss. I first listened to this song after hearing some shitty ass Kid Cudi song. So imagine how I felt after stumbling upon this masterpiece right after having my ears violated by a concoction of indescribable noises. Felt like getting a blood transfusion right after having my blood sucked by a vampire. This is his most iconic song with 34,000 listens and even a cool ass music video. But from the music video I watched, I think it portrays a young man who feels like he's constantly being forced to perform, running away from that fate at every turn, but in the end, he's always brought back. The video keeps showing imagery of this plane, and I think it's an indicator for his unquenchable desire to escape this performative hellhole. I mean, Takahashi himself kind of supports my theory with this quote. I only remember being angry no matter what I did. I refused to let anyone other than the supporting musicians enter the studio, and I was always belligerent towards the management company I was affiliated with, as if I was trying to make enemies of myself. I want you to listen to some of my favorite parts and attach your own feelings to them. Like I said earlier, I don't like super long songs. I know 8 minutes isn't super long compared to most stuff, but you know, I usually draw the line at like 4 or 5 minutes for my playlist. I'm very selective. This song's longevity is one of the things I love so much about it. There are like 3 or 4 points in the song where you think, oh yeah, it's gonna end here. Then it just keeps going, even more energetic than before. It feels so good because I'm disappointed that the song is over, then boom, there's more song, and this time the trumpets are even louder. It catches me off guard every single time, and it's really novel in a sense. Plus the climax of the song is absolutely heavenly. Just listen. This album has a feeling of a disgruntled, overly ambitious musician written all over it. It's definitely much more ambitious than his past stuff. The drums and guitar here are super notable as well. They go absolutely insane and it's almost unreal. Even the more mellow songs have an underlying sense of passion behind them, like he's holding back energy. The song Nightclub is the perfect example of this. Although, I'd say there's one song that doesn't fit, and it's the song Always Goodbye. There's only a piano playing, and this man sings his heart out. It's a great song, but it's slumped in between the two most aggressively upbeat and energetic songs in the entire album. It doesn't really fit anywhere if I'm being honest. It was really weird first listening to it, in fact. The album is only about 52 minutes, but those 52 minutes are absolute bliss. I've become a huge fan and followed him on basically everything. Before I move on to the man himself though, let me quickly mention the EPs. EPs. They exist, and they are here. I'll make this quick, because a lot of the songs in these are also album songs. Midnight Drive in 1997, pretty good but basic. China Cafe, 1997. The title simply references the song China Cafe. I already talked about it earlier and it sounds great. It's really energetic, but half the songs here go to his second album, so there's not much to talk about. A New World, 1997, named after my favorite Takahashi song. This EP is so goddamn good, man. The other songs are so good here. This is Takahashi at his best in my opinion. Obviously this means nothing to you because you've just heard of him now, but everything has a serene feel to it. It's fitting that the album cover is a beautiful sky with the plane taking off. That image really invokes how this album feels. It also uses a healthy mix of synths to add some flair to it. In his previous EP, China Cafe was really harsh, but here is kinda more subtle. Such a unique sound, absent from a lot of his other works. 5/14, 2014. I skipped a lot because I'm not reviewing every single EP for an artist you've never even listened to. It'd get redundant and boring. I wanted to talk about this one in particular because it really shows the shift in his music over the years. The songs are much less complex, but they're not worse. For those of you who don't know, which is all of you, the 3 albums he made were when he was part of a band. Everything after is part of his solo career. He has such a great voice after all this time. He's expressed how fulfilled he is in these recent times. It's really great to hear, honestly. I'd say his voice is actually even more prominent. I prefer the style of his older stuff, but this has its merits. Jumping from 1998 to 2014 was a huge whiplash for me. Do you know why I had to do that? Because there's literally nothing about this guy on the internet. Tetsuya Takahashi is a feeling. No, that's stupid. Tetsuya Takahashi is a reminder of an era once behind us. No, that just sounds really insulting. He's just a guy. A regular, really talented guy. Yeah, that sounds much less patronizing. In an age of consumers uncovering obscure artists from completely different countries, people never really look into who those artists are. I don't blame them either. Finding out about people whose language you don't even speak can be hard. I've come across a lot of obscure artists as of late, and I've been listening to their stuff. Satellite Lovers, Dayone, and oh god, I love desert music. It can make them feel like elusive figures in a sense. I know how it feels to have something you aspire to do not work out, especially as a creator myself. Sometimes I will weep for a project I believe deserve more attention, and it's hard to stay rational during these times. So I usually feel a lot of sympathy towards people who never really seem to have took off. Even Takahashi himself admits this, but he's totally fine with that. Of course, he's had a lot of character development since his first album. Some commentary on his second album really puts this into light, where he says his thought process when creating it was, "With this album, I will shut up all the people who criticize me. This work was made with an excessive self-consciousness and a sense of urgency." That is a feeling that I'm not at all alien to. Oh, if you're wondering how I got all this info, he has a blog, and I routinely use Google Translate to understand anything. I had to do a lot of digging to find this. No, I'm kidding. It's literally linked in his Twitter, which I am following, by the way. He's a pretty cool guy with pretty cool music, and I implore you to do some research of your own. The rabbit hole is too fascinating to pass up. Man, I really have a weird knack for finding random pieces of Japanese media barely anybody knows about. If only I could speak Japanese. If only.